What is going on, folks? My name is Spice. This is Spice Can't Fish. Today we've got an unboxing, but before we get into the unboxing, I've actually got a whole bunch of other things to show you. So if you guys saw the title of today's video, you probably know what's going on already, but I got a new bait in the mail, which is super freaking sweet. We're gonna get into this in a minute, like I said, but first of all, I wanted to update you guys about all the new swim baits that I bought over the past summer. So as you guys can probably tell, I love bass fishing. If you guys couldn't see that little bass hanging out there, bass fishing is pretty much my life. I love everything to do with it. I think about it all the time. It's pretty much all that I love to do. And the reason that I love this sport is because it's incredibly individualistic. There's tons of different rods, reels, lines, hooks, baits on the market that you can go out and buy, go out and catch fish on. It's really different for everybody. Some people like to fish just sitting down, hanging out. Some people like me like to really run the bank and really run and gun, try and cover some water and find fish actively. But depending on who you are, depends on how you like to fish, and that's part of the reason that I like it. But going along with that, because fishing is so individualistic, there are, like I said, a ton of different baits on the market. And because of that, that also leads into another thing that I really like about fishing, which is kind of just collecting baits. I love collecting baits. I've got 6 or 7 boxes of hard baits over here that I don't use hardly half of. Collecting stuff is something that I've always liked to do. I used to collect coins. I used to collect like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards back when I was a kid. I recently started collecting Hot Wheels cars again, but the one thing that I've noticed that I really like to collect is big swim baits. So I've been throwing big swim baits pretty much the entire year, really hard. I used to throw them here and there every once in a while, but never really had a whole lot of confidence in them up until last year when I caught like 20 or 30 fish on them. And this year I really took the time to dial in my swim bait game, really tried to learn it, really tried to understand what I was doing, and in doing so ended up picking up a whole bunch of new baits. Now a lot of these baits I've actually previously filmed videos on. Like I said, I got these over the summer, but if you guys have noticed, I took like a month break from posting because my old computer died and I haven't had a way to post videos. And on top of that, I lost like 2 months worth of footage. It's all like sitting on the hard drive right now. I could theoretically get it back, but I went over to some place and they quoted me some ridiculous amount of money to try and get all those videos back. So it's probably going to take me a while to get those back. So since at least for the foreseeable future you guys won't be seeing those videos, I figured I would just kind of go over all the new swim baits that I bought over the past summer and kind of show you guys which ones I got, tell you why I got them, and just show you guys what we're working with now. So I've got 6 baits over here. I've caught fish on every one of them in one way or another. I'll get into that at some point. So we're going to go through all the 6 baits that I got over the summer, and then we're going to get into the big unboxing that we got at the end of the video. But yeah, I figured I'd show you the 6 baits that I got over the summer, and then we're going to get into the unboxing towards the end of the video and show you guys my new 7th bait, which I haven't even really looked at all that much yet. I'm really excited for that one though. So that one will be at the end of the video, but for right now we're going to get into all the new baits that I picked up, and I'll show you guys what I got. So the first bait that we're going to go over is this right here. Now this probably looks really familiar to you guys that have been around the channel for a while. This is a Biebs Big Baits Blaster, but it is not the one that I usually throw. So if you guys have been around the channel for a while, you guys probably have seen this thing quite a bit. This is the green gill blaster. I think I've caught like 20 fish or something on this thing. As you can probably see, it's getting quite a little bit beat up. Got a little mark on the tail from where I threw it into a dock and had to super glue it back together, but things still kicking, things still absolutely crushing fish. But if you guys remember, I actually entered and won a tournament with that bait. So the man over at Biebs Big Baits, Brett, he ran a tournament over in, I think it was May, way back in May. And it was a big fish tournament. Whoever caught the biggest fish ended up winning a custom bait. And I ended up catching the biggest fish somehow. So yeah, this is kind of like the main winnings from that. I also got a bunch of stickers and a hat and a bunch of tails for these baits and stuff. But this is kind of the main portion of the giveaway, or the winnings, I guess I should say. This is a Biebs Big Baits Blaster painted up by B&A Custom Lures. It is, as you guys can probably tell, a supernatural bluegill color. Look at that thing. Absolutely gorgeous. Starts off black on the back and then kind of fades into a brownish with some little darker brown lines on it. Goes all the way down to a white on the belly with some orange and some blue up under the chin. Absolutely beautiful looking bait. You guys know I love the Biebs Big Blasters, and this thing is no exception. I've caught a few fish on this bait. I haven't thrown it around all that much. It's a super natural bait, so I tend to throw it in super clear water. I'm sure you could probably get bit on it in dirtier water as well. It does have that loud clacking side to side when that joint hits, but generally I'm going to throw this one in super clear water because it is a really natural presentation. And I'll generally throw that green sunfish one in any other water clarity because that thing will get bit in like 2 inches of visibility and they'll get bit in like 30-foot visibility. It's crazy how versatile that bait is. But yeah, didn't pay for this bait, just wanted to show it off a little bit because I'm super stoked that I got it in the arsenal. Now I got 2 blasters, so when I inevitably get one of them stuck up in the tree, I'm not completely shit out of the luck. But yeah, that's the first bait that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention. Really sweet little bait. Super big shout out to the man Brett over at Biebs Baits. Really do appreciate you sending this over again. I probably should throw it more than I do. Hopefully I'll be able to get out and throw it some more this fall and catch some more fish on it, but this thing is an absolute dirty little bait. Alright, next up, number 2, we got this little deal right here. This is a Top Banana Lures Sugarfoot Mouse. So my buddy Dan over at Top Banana Lures actually made this bait for me. It's just like a super natural like wood grain finish, and then he put like some stain or some varnish on it or something to kind of let that wood grain through but give it some more brown to it. Absolutely fantastic little bait. It's a smaller profile, as you guys can probably tell, but it's really loud, as you guys can hear. It's got that nice little clacking. It's made out of wood, so it has that nice clacking sound to it when that joint hits. I absolutely love this bait. It's a little bit smaller profile for a mouse style bait. Most of the mouses that you see or the rat style baits are a little bit bigger than this, but it's a little bit more of a smaller compact profile. It works absolutely fantastic in ponds, small lakes and stuff. Like I said, it is also a true wake bait, so it stays right up along the surface, which I absolutely love for fishing over shallow grass or just anywhere where it's really sticky and you don't want to get that bait hung up. Caught 7 or 8 fish on this bait. It's starting to get a little bit roughed up, starting to get a little bit of hook rash on there, but still in absolutely fantastic condition. And this thing is going to catch some fish for me for sure. And I'll generally find myself throwing any of these wake baits from like that spawn to post spawn anytime over the summer, even into the fall a little bit. But generally once I get into that fall time, I'll start to throw more glide baits as opposed to those wake baits, just because those fish tend to be moving around more and less feeding up on the surface. But you can get bit on this bait, I'm sure, all the way down to like high 50-degree water temperature. I'm sure these fish will come up and eat this thing. Like I said, it's super loud, so definitely has a good presence and it has a decent profile as well, even though it is a little bit smaller. Alright, this next bait I was actually really excited to get my hands on. So this is a DRT Clash 9. You guys obviously probably know the Clash 9 or the Clash series of baits. A lot of people like the DRT Tiny Clash. My buddies, actually a couple of my buddies have a Tiny Clash and they catch fish all the time on that thing. But I decided to go with a little bit bigger size. From what I hear, this one's a little bit easier to control. It's a little bit more of like a glide style bait as opposed to that Tiny Clash, which is a little bit more of a twitching style bait. Most people like to dead walk that Tiny Clash, whereas this one they'll fish it with the lip out in the glide mode. I've had success doing both. I've caught 5 or 6 fish on this thing so far. As you guys can tell, it's starting to get pretty rashed up. That is the one thing that I don't really like about these DRT baits, is they get rashed up really, really easily. Especially this one. This is one of their older paint colors, so before they came out with the newer paint colors, they had like these older, more realistic style paints, and they look absolutely fantastic, but they didn't stay on the bait super well, which I think is part of the reason why they changed over to that more like machine press style finish. So I think this one's going to get rashed up even faster than a normal one, but as you guys can see, this thing's already taken some damage. But I've had success both in the glide mode as well as with the lip in dead walking this bait. With the dead walk, I generally tend to like the V-tail a little bit better, whereas the glide mode, I'll keep that normal tail in. And I think I fish it in mode B? I don't know, the tail's upside down, whatever mode that is. I don't really know all the different modes for this thing. But yeah, like I said, I caught like 5 or 6 fish on this thing, I think. I had a couple more bites. This thing gets absolutely bit. Gets bit by some pretty small fish too, from what I'm realizing. I wasn't expecting to catch anything under like 2 pounds on this thing, but I've caught like a ½ pounder, a 3/4 pounder, and then a couple of 1 pounders on this thing. So it's definitely got some good drawing power. It'll definitely get those smaller fish to commit, but I feel like if I put it in front of a real big one, that thing will absolutely hammer it too. And yeah, these DRT baits are super versatile. Like I said, you can change out different parts on them. You can take the lip out, you can change the tails. Depending on whatever tail or lip you have in, it'll change the action on the bait. So super versatile bait. That's part of the reason why I wanted to get it, is because they're kind of like a do-it-all bait. You can wake them, you can walk them, you can crank them, you can pretty much do whatever you want with these baits. So super cool to finally have a DRT in the arsenal, and really cool to have it in kind of a weird color. Alright, next up we got another little wake bait to the arsenal. As you guys can probably tell, I love my wake baits. I throw wake baits, like I said, all the way from the spawn, even a little bit in the pre-spawn, but mostly in the spawn, all the way up into the post-spawn, all the way through the fall. I think a wake bait is one of the more versatile baits that you can throw. They can go over pretty much anything. You can fish them in shallow water and get bit. You can fish them over deep water and fish will still come up and commit to them. They're great if you're a bank fisherman like me. If you're throwing these bigger baits, you don't want them to get snagged up. So a bait that stays along the surface naturally is an absolutely fantastic option, which is also part of the reason why I gravitated towards wake baits. But yeah, this is a Hiroshima dorilla. It is, again, another wake bait. So you guys can tell this thing is super messed up. Doesn't have a tail anymore. Missing one of the eyes. Starting to get a whole bunch of rash on this thing. This is a secondhand bait. I picked this up used, so it already had some of these rashes and stuff on it. But I had a fish take the eye off of it. I had a fish take the tail off of it. And they are absolutely murdering this thing. I think I've caught like 6 or 7 fish on it since I bought this thing. And it is an absolutely killer bait. It's a really, really loud bait, as you guys can probably hear. It makes a really loud knocking noise, even louder than that Biebs. Generally, I'll throw this one at night. You can throw it in dirtier water as well, or when there's a little bit of chop on the water, but generally this is going to be my night fishing wake bait, especially now that it doesn't have a tail. If any of you guys know where I can find another tail for this bait, please let me know down in the comments section. I would love to get a new replacement tail for this thing. I might even be able to stick one of those Biebs tails in here and see if I can get that to stick, but I'm not entirely sure if that'll fit in the little groove in there, but maybe we'll see. We'll have to play around with it and see if we can figure out a little tail situation. But yeah, this is the dorilla. I don't know what color this is. It's just like a natural bluegill, reddier kind of color. Absolutely killer looking bait though. It's got some iridescence, which isn't showing up on the camera, I'm sure. I'll be trying to get some close-up videos for all these baits so you guys can get a closer look at all of them. But it's like an olive green on the back, kind of fades into a gold on the bottom with some red underneath the chin. And it's just got like this purple iridescence that runs all the way through the body that you can't, again, really see on the camera too well, but shows up really well in the sunlight. And yeah, I really like this thing. It's a little bit of a wider profile, as you guys can probably tell. It's super thick, a little bit more of a squat profile, so again, really good for those smaller ponds if you're trying to imitate a little bit of a smaller bluegill, although I have noticed that even in small ponds they'll eat something like the size of the Biebs, which isn't really that much bigger of a bait than this, but it does seem a lot bigger. This one also weighs more than the Biebs, not by a lot, but by a little bit, which I think is really interesting, having it be a little bit of a smaller profile, but I think that also plays into the fact that it's super wide at the top. But yeah, because of the weight of this thing, you can throw it an absolute mile. This thing cranks down probably about 6 inches to a foot. You can keep it really close to the surface as well if you want to. Again, great for this bank fisherman. But yeah, absolutely fantastic little bait. They're a little bit hard to get your hands on, but they pop up every once in a while if you're looking secondhand. So I would highly suggest picking one of these up, or one of the Biebs up, honestly. Those Biebs are probably a little bit easier for you to get your hands on, and they do about the same thing. But yeah, just another little bluegill wakebait presentation. Don't really have a reason why I picked this one up, other than the fact that I liked the way that it looked and I wanted it. But yeah, there's another little wakebait for you. Speaking of wake baits, any of you eagle-eyed watchers probably saw this box sitting over here. I don't actually know if the camera will reach over there, but if you guys can see that table, you probably saw this little box over here. If any of you guys know that green box, you guys know that's a Roman-made. This is a Roman-made trick. The Roman-made trick is one of the less well-known Roman-made baits. They have the Mother, which I think is their most well-known. They have the Mother Chaser and the Negotiator, which I think are the 3 that most people know of. The Mother Chaser is absolutely huge, and then the Mother is like the smaller version of the Mother Chaser, and then the Negotiator is like the smaller version of the Mother. They're all just kind of glide-style baits, slow sink, all made out of wood, all handmade out of Japan. This bait, again, made out of wood, made out of Japan. All the Roman-made baits are all handmade out of Japan and all made out of wood, but this one is actually a 3-piece, and it's a wake bait. Let me pull this out of the box for you guys, actually. So here it is. This is the Roman trick. This is, again, that 3-piece. They make 2 different styles of this bait. They make a slow sink, which doesn't have the lip, and then the floating version, which does have the lip. But this floating version floats very slow. It is one of the sketchiest baits that I've ever thrown around. I used to have another one of these, no longer have one of those. You guys are going to have to wait to see the reasoning behind that, why I had to buy a second one, but if I ever get those videos off my old computer, y'all will see what happened with that. But yeah, again, I decided to pick up a Roman trick. Again, it's a wake bait. It gets down super deep though, so I wouldn't even consider this a wake bait. It's more of like a crankbait almost. It gets down to like 4 or 5 foot on a long cast. And like I said, it's a really sketchy bait to fish. It's a slow riser, but it's a really slow riser, so it rises up like maybe a half a foot every second. It's really, really sketchy when you're fishing it around some deeper water and some rock and stuff, because you don't see this bait for 10-15 seconds and you're like, is it stuck on a rock? Am I stuck on something? Does a fish have it in its mouth? it's not a fun bait to fish if you don't know what you're doing. But it is a super interesting little bait. Again, this is more of like a shad style imitator as opposed to those other ones which are bluegill style imitators. I just figured I'd pick it up because it is something a little bit different, something I don't see a lot of people throw, especially over here in the United States. And it's just cool to have a Roman made, honestly. Like, I've been hearing about these baits ever since I was first getting into bass fishing. The Roman made Mother, the Roman made Trick, the Roman made South, like all of these baits have been stuff that I've heard a little bit about but never really had any opportunity to even see. But now that I have one in my hand, I can really see what all the hype's about. These things are absolutely sick. The other thing that I did notice about this bait though is it's a very subtle bait. It doesn't have a lot of action. It does have some action. Like I said, it's got that 3-piece little tail section to it, so it does give off a nice little subtle kick, but it doesn't throw a ton of water, it doesn't throw a ton of weight and stuff like a lot of these other wake baits do. It's again more of like one of those finesse-y style, like almost crankbait style wake baits. But yeah, again, really jazzed to have a Roman made in the arsenal. I think I'll probably be picking up another couple of these at some point. Not the Trick, obviously, but a couple of other Roman maids at some point. But they do get pretty pricey, so we'll have to see about that. The really cool thing about this Roman made Trick is you can actually bust the lip out of these. I'm not going to do it, obviously, but the lip does come out of these for whatever reason. They're not super easy to come out because they are glued in, but you can pull them out. And this one actually came with a replacement lip. This replacement lip, though, if you guys might be able to tell, is flexible. It's soft plastic, so this is actually designed to almost come over the top of cover, like bounce over cover. There's like an old video of some dude fishing this Roman made Trick, like literally over the top of a laydown. Like the bait will hit the laydown and bounce over the top of the laydown with that little soft plastic lip in, so. That'll be kind of interesting. If I ever end up busting the lip out of this, I'll probably toss that little lip in and see what it can do. Again, I probably won't do it intentionally, but if the lip ends up coming out for some reason, then I do have a replacement, and it's a little soft plastic one too, so that's kind of sick. And I gotta say, I do really like the packaging that all the Roman made baits come in. They have this like green little packaging, has a bunch of Japanese words on the back that I couldn't honestly tell you what they say, but gives you a whole bunch of information on the bait if you spoke Japanese. And yeah, just a pretty sweet little packaging. I think I'll probably keep this box and hang it up on the wall or something. And now going into the last bait before we get into the unboxing. I'm sure this video is going on forever, so I apologize about that, but if you guys are sticking around for this long, I really appreciate you. But this is probably the bait that I won't say the bait that I'm most excited about, because I am really excited about all these baits, but this is one of the ones that I was most hyped to get my hands on, we'll say. So I don't know if you guys even know what this is. This is a newer bait. This is the 86 Baits Tempest gill. So 86 Baits is really known for their Doom Rider shad. That's their shad style glide bait. Super slow sink, really sweet bait, really difficult to get your hands on. But this spring they actually came out with like a bluegill style representation. So it's a little bit squatter, a little bit fatter, a little taller. Ends up looking like a bluegill a little more. They came out with these super lifelike patterns. This is the red ear pattern. They also have like a crappie pattern as well, I believe. And these baits were really difficult to get your hands on. I remember seeing them come out and they sold out almost immediately. I think they only did like 2 or 3 drops of them this year. So really difficult to get your hands on these baits. I've been seeing them sell for almost $300 in some places, which is ridiculous for these baits. I definitely didn't spend that much on this bait. But yeah, the point is these baits are really hard to get your hands on and they are freaking badass. The attention to detail on this bait is incredible. It's got these soft plastic fins down here, but they're not like super soft. Like they'll last the length of it, or the lifetime of the bait probably. But yeah, just a really lifelike, good looking little red ear bluegill style presentation. I wish they made like an actual bluegill colorway, but this red ear is about the closest that I was gonna get to a bluegill, and I'm really stoked to get my hands on this thing. I've only caught 1 fish on this thing so far, which I'll actually play that clip for you guys right now. I know, I haven't seen a single bass. Like I've seen some gills, but besides that one little baby guy I saw when we first launched, I haven't seen any. There's one. Got one. I got one little guy. Yeah. First one on the 86, baby. Let's go. All right. Calm down, I'm gonna put you back. Dude, what a skinny little fish. He probably could have used a big old gill. I'm sorry, bro. The more you flop, the longer it's gonna take for me to put you back. .88, baby, let's go. Later, my boy. Peace out. Yeah, dude, finally. Got bit like 4 freaking times before this. God damn. As you guys would expect from me, not a very big fish, obviously, but really shows that even the smaller ones will commit to a bait of this size. It's not really a very big glide bait, but it is kind of on the bigger side. A little bit chunkier, like I said, it's a little fatter, a little bit more of that bluegill style presentation. But yeah, overall, fantastic little bait. Again, really, really lifelike. I'm excited to get this thing in the water some more. I just haven't really thrown all that much. I've been a little bit scared to be perfectly honest with you, because I don't want to lose this thing. Like I said, they're going for almost 300 bucks in some places. So if I lose this, I'm going to be one very sad boy. But yeah, enough of all those baits that I've already caught fish on. Let's get into something brand new. So this is from Zimmer Baitco. If you guys know about Zimmer Baitco, they're a newer bait company on the market. I believe they were originally Golden Swimbaits. Then I think the owner ended up selling it to someone else. They switched names, switched owners, but they're keeping a lot of the old swim baits, a lot of the same swim baits, and this was one of the ones from Golden Swimbaits that I wanted to get my hands on that I'm really excited that they brought back. Now, I wasn't originally going to buy this bait, to be honest. I really didn't think that I was going to end up picking one up this soon. I wanted to get one at some point, but I wasn't really thinking I was going to do it now. But they ended up putting up an Instagram post. They were coming out with some limited edition colors, and I mean, some of them just looked so good, I couldn't let it go by. So I ended up picking up one. It was the one that I think sold out the fastest, which I think should speak to how good this color looks. I'm looking at it right now, and it is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it's a glide bait. It's not something that I have a whole lot of. You know, I'm just going to show you guys. There she is. Look at that. So that, Jesus Christ, that was loud, but that is a Golden Swimbaits, or sorry, Zimmer Baitco Instigator. It's the 8-inch version of the Instigator. They also make a 6-inch version, but I wanted the 8-inch because, well, honestly, the 8-inch is kind of the size that I want to throw. And this is, like I said, a limited edition. This is the Golden Shiner color, or the Shiner color. I don't remember exactly what he calls that, but it is an absolutely killer little bait. It's kind of like a light goldish, kind of gets down to a deeper gold towards the belly, but the general side of the bait is like this off-white goldish color, kind of fades off into a grayish, bluish kind of color on the back with some good sparkles on it. Got those bright orange fins to kind of imitate the orange fins of a Golden Shiner, and man, that bait looks just insane. It's got a little bit of a different joint on it. As you guys can probably see, that joint is just straight up and down as opposed to like that triangle style joint that you see on a lot of baits. That actually gives this bait a little bit more of a side-to-side erratic glide to it. I think they market this bait as a slow sink, but it does sink a little bit faster than I thought it was going to. Not really going to be an issue. I'm probably just going to have to fish this over a little bit deeper water. But again, I have a few ponds in mind that get pretty deep anyway, so I don't think that's really going to be an issue for me throwing this bait around and getting bit on it. But yeah, I picked this up because it is a little bit different. It's a Golden Shiner imitator, but it also is kind of just a bait fish imitator. It does look, again, like a Golden Shiner. That's what it's modeled after, but I think that'll look like a shad, that'll look like a crappie, that'll kind of look like a carp. You could really have that thing imitate a whole bunch of different bait fish. So I like the versatility of that color. I think it's a really great looking color, and again, like I said, you can use it to imitate a whole bunch of different species of bait fish. Again, whether it be a smaller carp or like a shad or a Golden Shiner, like what it's actually supposed to imitate, this thing will probably get bit in places where you have any sort of dial bait fish. And to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot of shad style glide baits. As you guys can probably tell, I fish mostly bluegill imitators. Just because we have a lot of bluegill around here, we don't have a lot of shad in most of our ponds. It just gets too cold for them. They end up just dying off every year. So I only got like 2 or 3 other glide baits that imitate shad, only one of which I really use being the 6 cent straw. So I figured I'd kind of get one that's a little bit more ambiguous. It can be a little bit more of anything as opposed to something that's strictly just a shad style imitator. But again, I can also use that to imitate a shad. I can throw this in any of those shad style bodies of water. Any of the bodies of water that we do have shad in, I think we have threadfin shad, so they end up getting really, really big. They end up getting like 14 or 15 inches. I've seen some giants around here. So an 8-inch bait is definitely on the bigger side. It'll definitely imitate a larger style shad, but it's not going to be so big to where I think these fish are going to be scared to take a hit at it. Like, I've caught a lot of fish that are in that 2.5 pound mark on that 6 cent straw, which is a 10-inch bait. It's a shad style imitator, but again, those shad get up to like 15, 16 inches around here. So an 8-inch, 9-inch bait is doing a really good job of imitating like that average size of shad. But yeah, really excited to get this bait in the water, really see what it can do. Again, I just got this yesterday. I threw it around a little bit just to see what it looked like, just to get an idea as to the action. And yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. It gets side to side really well. You can twitch it. You can turn it all the way around on itself almost. It does almost an entire 180. Absolutely killer bait. I'm really excited to get this thing in the mouth of a big fish. But yeah, folks, that is my entire update on my swim bait arsenal. If you guys wanted me to do like a full swim bait arsenal breakdown, I think I'll probably do one of those over the winter when I don't have time to go fishing. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's video, folks. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Just wanted to kind of update you on all the new swim baits that I got, as well as show you this brand new one that I just picked up. Really excited to get a whole bunch of these in the water, see what they can do, and hopefully get some catches on camera for you guys again. Hopefully at some point I'll be able to get those old videos off of my old computer and get those uploaded for you guys, so you guys can see like my actual first thoughts and impressions on a lot of these baits. But other than that, you guys will be seeing them a lot more in the future, hopefully. But till then, I think I'll just have to start filming some new content with these baits and hopefully trying to catch some more fish on them, which doesn't really sound like a bad thing, does it? But yeah, if you guys liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see some more content from me. Check and rec 'em, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.